Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Unfortunately, Coach Spurrier will not be here today. Something came up, but he's going to be gone all week. So we've got another guest for you. Instead, my friend Chris Harry's going to join us and talk about a little bit about Gator basketball, talk about the NBA Coach of the Year, who is of course, was on Florida's staff here. We'll talk about the Commanders a little bit because he's a big Washington fan. All that, and then again on Thursday, still not sure of the guests. I had one set up, but there's a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, we'll have a guest. And then Monday, I hope Coach Spurrier will be back here Monday. And then no show the following Thursday, just so you know. That is going to be golf tournament week, and I am already a maniac. My wife is such a great human being. She made this unbelievable dinner and had us sit outside, the beautiful weather. There is nothing like April in Gainesville. I'm telling you, it is the best place to be. July, not so much, but April in Gainesville is amazing. And but yeah, we sat out there and just kind of relaxed because I called 100 people over the last 3 days, and 80 of them returned my calls. Those 20 though, I'm out to get you. All right, so we got plenty to talk about, though. Let's get to our Process Service of Gainesville. Starting five, brought to you by Scott Hart and Process Service of Gainesville. We appreciate them as being our sponsor of the starting five. We'll start, number one, with softball. And because softball's win on Sunday was really it was a good weekend, but that made it great. Florida's win was huge. Now, if you don't know what happened, Florida's down 4-1. Then they get cut it to 4-3, and then they get to a situation where they have two runners on, and believe me, they were lucky to have it. Kendra Falby got to second because the first baseman threw the ball away trying to get a double play, and then she stole third, and they called her out. They reviewed it, and she was clearly safe, and they got it right. So I'm not saying luck, but they worked that out. And then they came up to our Campus USA play of the weekend, and here it is right here. Boom! That ball is deep, way back. As soon as she hit it, I go, that ball's gone. And that was the key to Florida winning the game. Now, that's Jocelyn Erickson, who has been a huge help coming over from Oklahoma. When she came, I was like, well, why would anybody leave Oklahoma? Well, she wanted to play more. She wanted to be the everyday player, and she has been unbelievable for the Gators so far this year. Now, and here's another shot of it, but it is just smoke. And it was a 3-2 pitch, so they're down to their last strike, and if they lose, they're out of the SEC race. I'm not saying they're deep into it, because they still they'd have to sweep this weekend against a really good Texas A&M team that's ahead of them in the standings, and Tennessee would have to lose twice. So they're probably not going to win the SEC, but you never know. Things happen. But that would have eliminated them, and I think it might have secured a first-round bye in the SEC tournament. Maybe not, but I think they may have. That was a huge win. And then, of course, that homer happened, and then they load the bases on 3 walks, and Katie Kinsler comes up and hits a triple, and that gives them a big lead. And luckily, it did because they gave up a 3-run homer. Rothrock gave up a 3-run homer. I want that on the record. But I will say this. She got her 20th win. That's pretty good for a freshman to have won 20 games despite her terrible surname. So, no, I'm just kidding. Zach Rothrock's over here. So, all right. So that was our Campus USA. Now, don't forget, Florida also plays FSU on Wednesday, I believe it is, right? Yeah, Wednesday. So that's coming up. That'll be there, and I'll give you the information, the TV information on that a little bit later. Yeah. So that's number one on our process service of Gainesville starting five. I totally lost my train of thought there for a minute. Let's go to number two, and that is the legend of Jack Caglione and how it just keeps getting bigger. So on Saturday, Florida plays a doubleheader against Arkansas, which is maybe the best team in the country. You can argue that they're not, but they're ranked number two, but I think they're the best team in the country. They have the best pitching. And so he comes up. They walk him 4 times intentionally, but he comes up with the bases loaded. You can't walk him. You're not going to walk him and give up the tying run, right? So what does he do? He takes a pitch lower, pretty low. I mean, it wasn't like he kind of golfed it and hits it way over the fence for a grand slam. And I just started laughing. I go, this guy is ridiculous. What in the world? It's like every time you think he's not going to do anything else, he does something. The over-under, I get listed at 1. It was 1. But it was 1 because they walked him every other time. And there were other games where they would just pitch around him, or they would, they would get lucky because he would hit a ball far and it would not go out. But anyway, anybody who got into the contest, I put you in the drawing, and we're going to pull that on the third segment. Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks to give you $25 at Leonardo's, and of course I think I said a copy of my book. Yeah, whatever I feel like giving you, I'm going to send to you. Anyway, it is just incredible. But this team is still in trouble. They won 1 game, and look, winning 1 of 3 at Arkansas is not the. They had 12,000 people there for every game. It's crazy. It's a different atmosphere even than you have here. But look, the schedule's not getting any easier. You got Tennessee. You've got to go to Georgia. Whoever they have this weekend, it's Tennessee this weekend, and then it's somebody else. Anyway, it's a hard schedule coming up here, and it's going to be rough for them to get into the tournament, let alone host. I think hosting is pretty much out of their control. However, I will tell you this: their ratings are pretty good, and because their schedule is listed as the toughest schedule in the country. And I assume that's just through today, through the games now, and they're still got a long way to go. Anyway, we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But if you want to know, like, obviously Jack Caglione is not the reason that Florida's struggling this year. We know some of the reasons. But here's one of the reasons, our second play of the week. We're going to give you 2 plays of the week for one for Campus USA. And this will be our second play of the week, which is something that you may have seen over the weekend. And it was Wyatt Langford hitting a ball very hard and scoring on a inside the park homer. Can we roll that? Oh. And it was just so funny because I started laughing because I saw that he hit his first homer, and I go, I want to see how far it goes. Well, it didn't go that far. It bounced off the wall, but it bounced in a perfect way. And look at the Trenton Thunder scramble around those bases, man. He is fast. No throw on an inside the park homer. That's amazing. And they're just having a great time because he finally got his first homer and it was inside the park. That was cool. And look, I'm not going to sit here and go, well, hey, he shouldn't have left. Of course he should have left. He was going to be in the top 5 of the draft no matter what, and he's going to make a lot of money, and he's going to start because he's that good. He's going to start for the World Series champs. Guy is a legend. I love that guy. But he made a huge difference. I mean, this is nothing any geniuses. You know who else did? Brandon Sproat and Hurston Waldrop. Those guys, losing those 3 guys is the reason Florida's where they are. And it's a very young team. They're going to take a while to get up. Anyway. All right, let's get to number 2, and that is the NFL, or 3 on our process service Gainesville starting 5, and that is the draft. I just wanted to talk briefly about it. I was just so happy for Ricky Pearsall to get drafted in the first round. I also thought immediately, that picture that he signed of the catch, he signed, and we're getting it framed right now at the Picture Company, which is where you should take all your picture needs. We appreciate them so much. It still says Picture This on up top, but it's the Picture Company is the name of it. And unbelievable job Lindsay has done over there for us on our tournament. But that's coming. I can't wait to see how it looks when it's framed. It's going to be unbelievable. But anyway, the draft was what it was. I wonder, though, about – look, I didn't watch much of it. I got to be honest with you. I probably watched 2 minutes of it. At one point, I flipped it over just to see what was going on, and guys were talking about how they got into the business. And I was like, oh, boy. I don't really want to hear Mel Kiper's story about that. But the draft is the NFL draft is everything the NFL is, and it's why it's so successful, and it's also everything I don't like about it. And that was, you saw hundreds of thousands of people there for the draft in Detroit, and a lot of people watched it, and a lot of people lost their minds, and everybody's talking about it, responding to it. But it also was way over the top, and I don't care for 15 minutes on why they shouldn't have drafted a guy. But that's me. That's more. I think I have a bigger problem with the networks, with the ESPN and ABC, than I do with that. I did hear one great line, and I don't know who even said this, but I heard it today, and that was the Bears draft and how the Bears went and got the best offensive player from USC. Then they went and got the best offensive player from Washington, and then they went and got the best player from Iowa, because they drafted the punter from Iowa, who would be their best offensive player. That cracked me up. That's a good joke. But it's true. All right, so that's it for the draft. Let's get to number 4, which is I do want to give a shout-out to Florida women's lacrosse. There's not men's lacrosse, so it's just Florida's lacrosse. Winning another AAC championship, the American Athletic Conference. Look, I don't think lacrosse gets a lot of play because they don't, they're not in the SEC, and because there's only one other team I think that has SEC, and it'd be great if more did and they could compete in the SEC. But this team's 15-2, and I want to make sure they get the pub they need or they deserve. That's 12 conference championships, now different conferences, in 15 years of existence. That's a lot of trophies for 15 years, Mandy O'Leary. You're doing a heck of a job over there, and I appreciate her very much. She's always been a big supporter of our tournament as well. Finally, let's get to number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5, and that would be golf as a whole. And golf this weekend was good and not good. Obviously, the Florida men losing in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. I know they're not happy. They made a great comeback. They were way down and had 2 matches that came down the wire, and they went extra holes. They're fine. They got a really good team. They're very good. Are they as good as last year? Probably not. They were number 1. They won the whole thing. So you had that. Then you had the Zurich Classic, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. I'm going to watch Billy and Tyson Alexander, 2 of my favorite people, which we talked about last week, playing golf. They didn't make the cut. They only shot 4 under. Billy may have been a little distracted. I don't know. But, that alligator walking across the fairway might have screwed him up. I don't know. But, hey, they're fine. So you had that. And so I dismissed golf. And unfortunately, I didn't realize until I saw it on my phone later in the night, as my wife was sitting out there on the back patio enjoying a wonderful, wonderful meal that she made, as always. And I go, oh, Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry are in a playoff. And then I saw that they won, and I was like, you could have stuck with that a little longer, but I chose not to. All right, that's going to do it for our Process Service of Gainesville starting 5, the 5 biggest stories of the weekend. We'll come back with our special guest, Chris Harry of FloridaGators.com. When we return, also, Robbie Andrew will be up in a little bit with Yes, No Way, or Maybe. All that and more on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary
bonus program.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley. It's not Dooley Dome Gator Studios. It's just Gator Studios today. Obviously Thursday it's a Dooley Dome. We do it from home. It's a great pleasure to bring on my good friend and, of course, Gator beat writer for FloridaGators.com in terms of basketball. But he does a little bit of everything. In fact, I saw him tweeting about the softball game over the weekend, which I enjoyed as well. Chris Harry joins us from FloridaGators.com. Chris, how are you?
I'm well, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing good. Are you happy with your draft?
Well, where did I get this hat?
You got it from me.
Yes, and you got it from
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. Yes. So it was left over for I guess from your tournament memorabilia, or for lack of prizes or whatever. So
yeah.
Yes, I mean, obviously, I was a fan of the Washington football franchise for a long, long time, but it's also been a very, very long time since they were worth getting excited about. And Jaden Daniels is, I think, pretty good baseline from which to have some element of optimism. Not just because of what he did to Florida last year by any stretch of imagination. He was pretty good.
That was a factor, yeah.
But I'm also realistic, having covered the King for a long time. As you know, I know that franchise quarterback picks, or quote-unquote franchise quarterbacks who pick that high, top 10, I think bat around 44% in terms of Pro Bowlers and stuff like that. But I think Washington has started 27 quarterbacks since its last won a Super Bowl in 1991. So let's see where this goes. I am kind of excited about that. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm wearing your hat.
What about the rest of it? You excited about the other guys they got? Because I thought they had. I only read the headline on CBSSports.com, and it said Redskins loading up. I don't know if it was Prisco or not. Yeah, it was Redskins loading up.
It didn't say Redskins, first of all. Okay.
Oh, okay. It said Commanders. I'm sorry. You're right.
Well,
I still have that slip every once in a while.
I mean, yeah, me too. And Spurrier, some of you guys say, I coach the Redskins. That's what he'll say. Shane Matthews say, I never played for the Commanders. I played, but yeah, they had what pros do when you have adults running the team. They had a pick the best player available, and what they really needed was a franchise, or excuse me, at least another really good offensive lineman. And I don't know that they got it, but they got a bunch of good players at other positions. They actually got the defensive back from Michigan, who Nick Saban said was the best player pound for pound in the draft, which really surprised me. I haven't learned how to pronounce that guy's name quite yet. However,
he said they went after him hard in the portal.
They did. Yes, that's right. So yes, I'm happy about him. But again, I'm realistic. New owner, new GM, new head coach, bunch of new players, and obviously a new quarterback. So, you're working from a place of the unknown, which is better because I know what it was before. So,
yeah,
it can't be worse.
It can't be worse than Dan Snyder.
No, yeah, the worst owner in the history of professional sports. I mean, you can actually make.
Would you go Dan Snyder or Don Sterling? Was it Don Sterling?
Don Sterling's pretty bad, but I'm saying, and Hugh Courthouse is pretty bad, and
Marge Schott.
Marge Schott. She won the World Series, right?
She did. Yes, she did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you named some of the leaders in the clubhouse for sure. I mean, the Bidwells eventually won a World Series or excuse me, got to a Super Bowl, excuse me,
Yeah.
Bidwell family eventually. So there's some of them in there, but I believe Dan Snyder's at the top of the list. Not a list you want to be on.
No, you don't. There's no question about it. Well, I wanted to talk to you about basketball, but before I get to Florida basketball, I do want to talk to you about the NBA Coach of the Year who was announced over the weekend, and it is Ashley Kerr's husband.
Yeah, Ashley Kerr's husband. That's right.
Ashley Kerr was a great gymnast at Florida, and of course, Mark Dagnall. Is it Dagnall?
Dagnall.
Dagnall. Yeah. Is with. I mean, you've known this guy for a long time. You're friends with him. You must have been really happy to see that.
Well, I am, and I mean, obviously, I got to see this guy from the inside out. From the time I started working there, came back to the UAA in 2011. He was in his second year of being quote unquote assistant to the head coach. They created that position when they went looking for just some more people to beef up the staff. And really, Mark was very, very young. He applied for grad school, but he had already, so he was a manager at UConn for Jim Calhoun.
Right.
And then got a job in a similar capacity as at Holy Cross. And something happened with their coaching staff, and Ralph Willard, or whatever one of the Willards, one of them, promoted him to a full-time assistant at the age of 23. So he was on the ground floor doing a lot of stuff at a very, very early age. And then he came down here. He so thoroughly impressed everybody within in charge at the UAA and the basketball program, including Mike Hill at the time, who was obviously the had administrative oversight. They created this position for him. He got into grad school, got his master's degree, and so, Bianchi actually texted me about what is this guy's story? Well, his story is he's really, really smart. He's really, really great with player relationships. He was big into help scheming up defenses. He would take on these projects and do deep dives into analytical things. He wasn't allowed to be on the floor, but he could do workouts, not during practice and stuff like that. But he had all the makings of somebody who had a really bright future as a coach. And really, Sam Presti used to come and watch University of Florida practices. Obviously, he had his eye on Billy Donovan for a long time. But he hired Mark the year after the Final Four to be the G League coach for the Oklahoma City Blue. So Mark actually went to Oklahoma City before Billy. And I think Billy talking to Mark kind of got him into a comfort zone where it would be an okay move for him to go to Oklahoma City. And now Mark eventually became a full-time assistant behind Billy and took over that team. And I think looking back on it, would Billy like to be coaching this team? Of course, but would Billy wanted to have been through the last 4 years or 3 or 4 years of this rebuilding and trading first-round picks and having to go through the reclamation project, the process as it's been known in Philadelphia or whatever. Mark was young enough to deal with that, probably better than someone like Billy who, was in a win now mode. But now look where Mark is, and they're up 3-0 in their series. He's fantastic, and he's the NBA Coach of the Year, and I couldn't be happy for him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll all be rooting for him. Let's go ahead and talk about Florida basketball because obviously Friday we had a great session there with Todd Golden, and I mean there was no big surprises there, but it was really interesting to hear him talk about it. And again, I sit here and I go, I'm still not sure who's playing point guard for you next year, but it sounds like it's going to be kind of a collection.
Yeah, and I think the question was put to him directly, is it point guard by committee? And the way he answered is, well, we're going to be different. And when he means different, he means different. He means different from last year because they have no Zion Pullen on this team. And again, it's a work in progress, and a lot can happen. There's still 2 open scholarships, but I don't know if they're going to go out and pull somebody like they did Zion Pullen in June, and I don't know if that's their intent to do that. What they want to do is they want Walter Clayton and Will Richard are in the NBA eval process right now, and and if they haven't been told yet, they will as this process goes on. You guys need to be better with the ball, especially Walter. Walter is an elite offensive player. He's not an elite ball handler, not an elite ball protector, not an elite ball distributor. He's going to have to get better there. Elijah Martin, who they signed from Florida Atlantic, is going to hear the same stuff. Okay, all those guys have to be better at that if they want to play at the next level. And so they're banking some of that. They're banking some that they're going to be able to coach it better out of them. And that's on Torian Green a lot. That's what he got. He's a director of player development, and he's going to be in his second year as a full-time assistant coach. So, I mean, great mentor to learn from. So that's a lot to put on his plate, but that's why he's here. But there's Denzel Aberdeen. It rolls into that equation also. I thought watching him all last year that he was going to have a bigger role with the team as the season went on. It just took a little longer than I think everybody. It took a while. I think Todd put it one way. He goes, "It's not up to me to trust you. It's up to you to make me trust you." And I think ultimately, after some growing pains, Denzel Aberdeen got through that, broke through that wall a little bit, and obviously paid dividends for Florida. I think in the postseason, he averaged 7 points, almost 8 points a game. He had that big 20-point game, obviously. He shot 60%, I think, from the field and over 50 from two in the postseason. So I go back to your original question. Going to be different. I've named you Walter. I've named you Elijah. Not Will Richard so much, but Denzel. Those are your three ball handlers. Am I worried a little bit when it comes to teams pressing? Yes, but they got to do something about that, and they have to coach it up. But having said all this, go back to your original point. Also, I believe in the next couple of weeks the portal closes, but there still will be you can still sign players out of the portal.
Right.
And obviously, there's still some high school players that can out there be brought in. Isaiah Brown's a guy. He's not a point guard, but he's one of these new guys who's going to come in. But Florida will be different. They won't be different up front. I think they're going to be different. If they are going to be different, they're going to be much better defensively. And I think you probably will ask me how much, because Todd did bring up how much better they have to be on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they do. I mean, that's why you lose games 102 to 100. You know,
Right.
he just didn't play good defensively. And he talked about
And
it.
their ability to score is why they averaged 100 points in 3 games against Alabama, which doesn't guard anybody either, and went to the Final Four. Right.
That's right. Yeah, that was pretty neat what he said, that he texted Nate Oates and said, "Hey, congratulations, a great run, and I also feel better about our program now."
Right.
Because and Nate Oates agreed with him. But that, I mean, when you're watching Alabama, you're going, Florida beat the crap out of these guys twice. Yes. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty amazing to watch. You know, one thing that he also had to say, and I thought was really interesting, was how getting Hauk and getting Condon and getting Denzel to come back was huge, because they had all had their moments in the postseason, and those are the kind of guys that tend to go out into the portal because they weren't, you know, just being able to hold on to those guys was important for this team.
Yeah, and Thomas Hawk is another one. And believe me, those discussions take place, and you know the NIL is a real deal, man. I mean, it's a thing, and it's a factor, and it's reasons why you see some of these guys who are literally the linchpins on their team going in the transfer portal, because what's out there for me. And until the rules change, that's not going to change. So I give Todd credit for doing whatever he was able to do, what he had to do. Last year, remember, they kept 4 people. 2 of them were Denzel, who hardly played, and Alex Shimsick, who only played the last 7 or 8 games after Colin got hurt. The other 2 were Will and Riley. This year, you got a nucleus of 6 guys that stuck around that were important. And I'm of course counting Will and Walter just on the offset, on the chance that they're coming back, which I think they will. But those are 6 guys from your team that won 24 games that you can build around. And you do have to build around them. Ruben Chinyelu and Sam Alexis are very, very promising front court players that'll step into to the Tyree Samuel and the Micah Handlockton positions. Micah will redshirt. He's not gonna be ready to play full capacity until into the season. So he's perfectly willing to sit out next year and have a fourth and fifth year as a Florida Gator. He's a great teammate in that regard, great attitude in that regard. But those two guys, Ruben, they've compared to Donnell Harvey. Okay.
All right. Now stop right there. Okay. He never dragged a Coke bottle out of the car door window, did he?
True. I just remember the dunk he had against Oklahoma State, and Matt Haston and goes, "Look at the manimal." He called him the manimal. Yeah.
What about the one he had against Duke in the NCAA tournament? I used to remember.
No, I was saying that it's the Oklahoma State is when that was. The one was just like he looked like a pterodactyl flying in from Jurassic Park or something.
That's right.
Yeah. But so. You got in Sam and you and Ruben, you have two more guys to roll in with Alex and Thomas Hawk, who just compete and play really, really hard.
Right.
And if that's the baseline from which you start, and then you're okay skill wise, or you can improve skill wise, that's a good place from which to start, man. And you got a bunch of guys in the front court playing hard, chasing rebounds. Ruben and Sam and Alex are going to be really good rim protectors. Micah, for as big as he is, at 7'1", I wouldn't call him a rim protector. Tyrese, just okay on defense. Really good offensive player, though. These guys are better. And so if you can get better on the back end, you got to hope that you can be a little bit better on the front end. And just calling it like it is, Walter Clayton needs to be a lot better on defense. Those NBA people are going to tell him that. Will Richards does too, and they know that. So they're going to hear it. That'll give them validation to work harder, and you just hope that it all takes and they come back and it all starts falling into place. But there's still two vacancies out there scholarship-wise. And am I concerned a little bit just watching about ball handling? Yeah, but I don't have to coach the team. And
no, you don't.
These guys have proven that they know a little bit about what they're doing. And so let's have faith in them and see how, eventually, like Todd says, it's up to us a little bit. So he understands that, and it is up to the players to do their part when it comes to developing and helping develop themselves.
I thought it was pretty interesting too. I asked him the question, "Do you think you dropped a seed line last year because of Micah's injury?" And he said, "Nah, they did that Thursdays." And I'm like, well, everybody says that, but nobody usually says it on the record. But now it's on the record. But I think they've got to get better. I thought it was a terrible injustice to that team to seed them that low. But again, you still got to go win the game, right?
And I remember having the conversation with them. I'm thinking, so Alabama was a 4, so there's three threes better, and Florida beat them twice by double digits. Now, having said that, Alabama also was 2 games better than them in the conference standings. Yeah. But there were some other teams that floated around. I remember thinking at first, what is Clemson doing as a 4? Then Clemson ends up going to the Elite 8, almost reaches the Final 4 in a great game against Alabama. So, it's a crapshoot at that time. But you kick yourself when you think about that 7 seed with that last game against Vanderbilt. But now I say that, and maybe that last game against Vanderbilt helped fuel them for that SEC tournament run, because it all plays in together.
Unfortunately, it may not have had nothing to do with it.
Try to win more games.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. I thought it was really nice of him to give us good quotes like that. Obviously, the SEC tournament games didn't mean anything, and I'm like, ooh, write that one down. Before I let you go, last thing. What do you see as, you've covered basketball a long time, and obviously you know a lot about Gator basketball, but what do you see as the state of the sport itself? We just had a March Madness just go by, and it was still great. I still enjoyed the heck out of it, but what do you see as where we are right now?
Well, I would just like to see them clean up the rules. Get some. The NCAA was about 20 years behind all this. They knew it was coming. They just kept raking in all the money for themselves, and they kept losing lawsuit after lawsuit, and just for some reason couldn't see the forest from the trees, or whatever, as they say. And they have no one to blame for it but themselves. And fix it. I saw just today, Alabama, Birmingham's football team has decided is the first D1 program that has unionized now. They are a player.
Really?
They have a players association now, head with the encouragement of head coach Trenton Dilfer, who was always a little on the outside a little bit, outside the box a little bit. But I mean, close your eyes and put yourself 5 years from now. That's where we're headed, I think.
Oh yeah.
And guys need to people need to make money. I mean, people that are spending money on this facility. We were talking about facilities 5 years ago. 5 years later, talking about how we're retaining players. So there's got to be a plan, and NCAA leadership has to be leaders on this front, and they have to do something about it, and they have to start talking about it sooner rather than later. And I like the fact that they're talking more about what's going on in football and the playoffs, and eventually it's all, are the big schools going to have to break away? I hope that doesn't happen. Maybe in football it should. I just hope it doesn't happen in basketball, because the NCAA tournament is as good an event as there is in sports.
It is.
The one and done nature of it. So I just think we're getting to the point. They got to figure out a way where the jersey, what's the name on the jersey, means something, and there's got to be some commitment behind it from the players. You can coaches leave when they want? Yeah, then you can open up the floodgates for them. And yeah, if a player, I can leave and not have to sit out if my coach leaves. There's all kinds of ways they can go about that, but I just think you have to have some serious kind of conversations about that. And they just dragged their feet with it so long. It's a shame that it came to this point.
Dragged their feet, kept giving Mark Emmert more raises. Keep looking past this and screw it up.
I remember Norm Sloan wrote in his book, he goes, NCAA needs, and of Norm Sloan I'm quoting for all when it comes to like NCAA stuff. He goes, they need to have more meetings instead of just worrying about how many chocolates are under the 5-star hotel pillows that they check into,
Well, they had one meeting and they made sure he got in trouble, so.
Yes, they did. At a 5-star hotel with chocolates under my pillows.
They were. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Chris, always great talking to you, buddy. I'll see you next Saturday for sure. Yeah.
Good luck at your tournament.
All right. Thank you, buddy. We'll be back with more of another Dooley Noted podcast. We'll come back with Yes, Nowhere, maybe with Robbie Andrew, all that and more coming up on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 2 herniated discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Always a great pleasure to bring on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line, the great Robbie Andrew. Robbie, I'll make sure I bring you a Big Mills cheesesteak while you're out there at the tournament next Saturday.
Okay, that's awesome, Pat. Look forward to that always.
We Karen and I went there Friday after we played golf, and it was just incredible. Really good, the food there, as you know.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, so your weekend,
I do.
Good, bad, mediocre?
Good, Pat. It was real good. And, one of the highlights for me, I'm not a big softball fan or anything, but watching Georgia swallow that bitter loss yesterday afternoon made my weekend.
Yeah,
it was. I loved it. I mean, I have nothing against Georgia softball, but Georgia with a bitter loss to anybody makes my day.
The funny thing is, I turned it off. I mean, I went to another event, or I don't know. I think I watched Mike and Molly for a while when they went down 4-1, and then I turned back and they go, "Oh, it's 4-3. I'll stay with it for a while here." And then to watch that seventh inning, I texted Tim Walton right after the game and said, "Nothing like a 7-run seventh."
In Athens too. That's what made it so good.
That was a huge win for them. A huge win.
It was. To win that series was really big.
Still in contention to win the SEC. So I talked about that earlier, but it's great. All right, let's play Yes, Nowhere, Maybe with Robbie Andrew. And it's brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. Please go in there and enjoy their unbelievable food. I had we both had a half a cheesesteak and we split a hot dog too. And the hot dog was incredible. And that's what
their food is great, Pat.
Yeah, and that's what we'll be serving on the first hole at the Bob Dooley. So we look forward to that. All right, Robbie, number 1 on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. You are excited about J.J. McCarthy.
I really wasn't, Pat, but then, when they did pick him and everybody was talking about how, he could be a really great quarterback, and they needed a quarterback. They got a quarterback. Then to come back and get Dallas Turner also, that kind of made the draft for me.
So you're happy with the draft. Yeah, you're happy with your draft.
I'm happy with the draft, yes. I'm happy about the McCarthy thing now that after looking at it further, I'm happy about it.
Well, I mean, I think
do you think the Falcons are happy about their pick?
I don't think fans are. No, it makes sense in a way, but it doesn't make sense in a way because they have no pass rush, and why are they not trying to address that? But I look, I'm still not sold on J.J. McCarthy, but they had to do something, and all those quarterbacks were going quickly, and I mean, I'm not sold on Sam Darnold either.
Yeah, but Pat, here's why I do feel good about about him is the fact he's going to a team that has a head coach that's great with quarterbacks and has a quarterback-friendly offense. So I think he'll be developed, and I think the guy's got a lot of potential. So that's why I'm kind of happy, just about the potential. I don't know if he's going to help right away, probably not, but I think his potential is what makes me feel good about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with it. And again, he's got a lot of weapons. So
yeah, he does.
Great tackles. He's got great receivers, obviously Justin Jefferson. And so it'll be interesting to see how that works out. All right, number 2, and I'm staying with your Robbie theme here today. The 7-game win streak of the Twins is more about who they played than how they played.
Absolutely right, Pat. It is. I mean, they've beaten the White Sox and the Angels, 2 terrible teams, and now the streak may continue. They get the White Sox at home starting today or tomorrow. So, yeah, it's all about the schedule, Pat. I mean, it's the same team that was 5 games under 500 a week ago. The schedule is what made the difference.
6, I believe.
Yeah, 6. Yeah. But the encouraging thing is they're starting to hit with a lot of these guys like Carlos Santana. So, I'm pleased. It's better than losing 7 games in a row. That's for sure.
Yeah, they scored a ridiculous amount of runs against the Angels. And it's sad to see, by letting Ohtani go, that the Angels have just gone right off the cliff.
Yeah, they've given up, Pat. I think, even though they have Trout still, but they've, it's not the same team.
No, absolutely not. All right, and finally, number 3 on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. Robbie, you were surprised that Kingsley Eguaquin did not get drafted.
Yes, I am, Pat. I mean, I thought that, center is a tough position to play in the NFL, but he's really good at it. He's real cerebral, smart, knows how to play the position. So I was surprised that he didn't get drafted. I thought he would go somewhere in the late rounds, and I still think now he's going to have a chance to make it, if he ends up in the right situation. I think he's capable of playing in the NFL, so we'll see how it works out for him, but I'm surprised he didn't get drafted.
Yeah, that's the thing he's got to do. He's got to go to the best situation, not where he wants to go play. Like, okay, maybe you've been a Knicks or a Giants fan your whole life. That may not be the best situation for you.
Yeah.
So, I was a little surprised. How about this stat that actually Scott Carter gave us on Twitter, and I talked about it earlier. Florida, one player drafted first time since Scott Brantley in 1980. That they had one player
1980, right, Pat?
Yeah.
And that came off of an 0-10-1 season, so.
Yeah, and actually Scott had a great career, but the only reason he went as low as he did in the third round was because of his head injury.
His head injury, yeah.
Yeah.
But better things are to come, Pat. I can feel it. So hang in there.
All right, there. All right, my man. I will. I'll talk to you next Monday. Okay.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Well, we always appreciate Robbie being on the show and appreciate his time. Let's get to our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the weekend. And I talked about lacrosse earlier, and I'm bringing it back. Danielle Pavanelli, who has had an unbelievable season and an unbelievable career at Florida. 5 goals yesterday in that AAC clinching win, which that's her 7th hat trick. Now, hat trick obviously is 3 goals, so 7 times she's had at least 3 goals in a match. So, Danielle, you are our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the weekend, and we are looking for, I cannot wait till Saturday afternoon when I get that Adams Ribco to Go lunch after I'm finally done with the tournament, and I can just sit down and have a cold beer and a Adams Ribco to Go meal. He's going to be out there serving sliders during the tournament and then serve lunch. He's one of the best people I know, and I love him very much. By the way, I did want to bring up, last week I had an Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week, and I gave the wrong sport. It wasn't swimming, it was tennis. And I was corrected on that by somebody who's a big swimming fan, and I appreciate that because I can't believe I botched that so badly. For some reason last Thursday I was like in a weird place. I was going in different directions. Like I'm not always in a weird place. All right, so let us get to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks, and we're going to pick a winner. I have written down numbers. We had 46 qualifiers. A lot of people did qualify, and all right, let's get a number from. I've got them all written down here from 12 to 58. That would be 42. Yes, 12 to 58.
Let's get 32.
32, okay. And that is Lee in Lake City. Lee in Lake City's been a big part of this. So he's always getting in. And I will tell you this, I remember this. I think Lee in Lake City, I think I'm right on this, is the only person that picked FSU to beat Florida in softball in Gainesville. Now, maybe he's an FSU fan. I don't know, but no, he's not. Or maybe he is. But anyway, Lee, just send me your information, and I will get your prizes to you for being the winner on Leo's Quick Picks. And talk to Kyle on Sunday. It's like everybody I called on Sunday was playing golf. Everybody, except me. No, it was Saturday, actually. Everybody was playing golf Saturday, and I was like, I played yesterday. I'm okay. But he was playing golf, and we talked a lot about the tournament and everything. But he is such a big part of it as well. He'll be out on 15. Having fun out there, and he'll be playing in the tournament as well. And we appreciate him, and also supplying pizzas for the Friday night party before. So these are good people. Please go to them and tell them you listen to this podcast, and maybe they'll give you a discount. I'm not promising anything. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation, and another sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational. Appreciate them as well. If you're a loyal listener of this show, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920, 352-339-9920. You know, I looked this up last night. I think we have 8 women playing in the tournament this year. That's a record for us. Not that it could be, when we're going to have 120 players, we could have 120 women. It'd be fine with me. In fact, it'd be better for me. But I think we have 8 this year, which is a record. Jennifer will be one of them. Let's get to the 3 things, though. Number 1, the Cowboys are going to reunite with Ezekiel Elliott. Why? I mean, he's okay, but he's not the Ezekiel Elliott I used to worry about, being an anti-Cowboys guy. But Jerry Jones says he could be a starting running back. Yeah, well, anybody could be a starting running back in the NFL. They're a dime a dozen. I guess maybe they're getting him on the cheap, but yeah, just I don't like him anyway. And now when he's playing for the Cowboys, I like him even less. And I hate to not like Dak Prescott because I kind of like the guy, but I have to root against him all the time. And then I drafted him like an idiot on my fantasy team, so I had to root for him and against him at the same time. That was too much. I'm not doing fantasy this year. All right, number 2 on Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. I know it stings a little bit, but Sixers lost yesterday, and Joel Embiid talked about how disappointed he was with the number of Knicks fans at the game. And I was stunned. I kept, and I heard Dan Patrick say this when I was coming in, and I had to do the same thing, so I'm not stealing it from him, but I'm just telling you I did the same thing. I was watching the game, and I'm listening, I got the sound on. I had to keep looking down at the floor. Where is this game being played? Oh, it's in Philly. When the Knicks, Jalen Brunson's just ridiculous. When they would go on runs or make baskets, it was louder. And Joel Embiid says, I'm disappointed in that. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for being disappointed, but what are you going to do? You can't go. What are you going to do? Go keep anybody from selling their tickets? Look, people, you buy a ticket, you have the right to sell it. It's unfortunate. We've seen that happen with Florida Kentucky basketball. We saw it last year with a little bit with Florida FSU football, where FSU fans bought up a lot of tickets because Gator fans were disappointed where they were. You can't do anything about it. You got to win more, I guess. That's the bottom line. And finally, number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. The Suns put together the super team and then got swept 4-0. They're not as good as the Wolves who beat them. They've got a really good team. But they put together this super team, and it's almost like putting 3 bass players on the same team or the same band. It's not going to sound good. You got to have a lead guitarist. You got to have a drummer. They don't have a drummer. They don't have a lead guitarist. And so everybody today is talking about where does the blame fall? Does it fall on the coach? Does it fall on the GM who got these 3 stars there? Or does it fall on the players? Does it fall on Kevin Durant? Does it fall on Bradley Beal, our former Gator? And I'd hate for it to fall on him. He hardly played at all this year. I think that's where it falls, that these guys didn't play together very much. They were all different injuries, and Booker had a big game in the last game, but that was it. I'm not a Durant guy. I am a Bradley Beal guy, though. But I think the blame is to be shared. That's the best way to put it. The blame is to be shared by all involved. And really, to be honest with you, I don't care that much about the Phoenix Suns. I know there's some people that do. So those are our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let us wrap it up with our Swamp Games of the Week. And appreciate Ryan out at the Swamp Restaurant. My daughter went by and picked up a gift certificate yesterday from them, and I think we're all done picking them up. I think we're picked up everything we can pick up so far, and that was the last one that I had to get somebody to go get for me. I was trying to lay low on Saturday and Sunday and just work the phones, if you know what I mean. All right, so let's get to our Swamp Games of the Week, and these are games you want to probably go watch there if they're showing them. I mean, you never know because there's a lot of games going on. Don't forget tonight, and again, this is Monday night. I know a lot of you listen to it Tuesday, but tonight the game for me is Boston at Miami on TNT. That's a 7:30 game. The game tomorrow, Tuesday, is Orlando at Cleveland. That series tied 2-2. It's at 8 o'clock, but it's on NBA TV. So that'll be interesting to see if you can get that. Or somebody told me that no, you said NBA TV, but it's actually on every other TV. And then I tried, or on ESPN, and I looked. I go, no, it's not. There's something else on there. And then Wednesday, to me, the best NBA game is Dallas at the Clippers. That series is tied 2-2, but you're going to have to stay up late, 10 o'clock on TNT again. That'll be interesting to watch because there's been a lot of injuries, but we'll see what happens there. Gator baseball, Tuesday night. No, not Tuesday night, Tuesday day, 4 o'clock. I'm going to find out from Jeff Cardozo today why they're playing a 4 o'clock game against FAU. It's only on the Plus. Maybe it's because they have a Thursday start to the next series against Tennessee. They go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So maybe they said, hey, we want to get as much rest as possible, especially for our bullpen. Let's play the game a little earlier. It's it's 2 hours earlier than normal, 2.5 hours earlier than normal. But that's where you can watch the game there. And then we'll give you on Thursday, the games that are being played over the weekend and starting with Thursday night's game. And then softball, as I said, playing FSU at FSU Wednesday night. That is it's 7 o'clock on the ACC network. So some of you can get that, some of you can't. I know I can get it. I don't know that I was really into that game Saturday or Sunday. I was actually into the game Saturday. Unfortunately, they weren't. They didn't play very well Saturday. But anyway, I'll be watching that game as well. All right, that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Again, we'll be back with a new show Thursday, and hope you will be with us. Anybody who wants to donate to the Bob Dooley Invitational, we're good. If you want to donate money to Stop Children's Cancer, we're never good. We never can get enough, and we're going to give them as much as we possibly can and have a great tournament as well. We'll talk more about that next week. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it, but you're still going to hear about it. It's my podcast. All right, that's going to do it for the podcast. Thanks to Zach, as always, for doing a great job. We'll be back with the show Thursday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.